Hey guys, this is Karen from Blue Rooster Farm, and today we're going to start off in the kitchen and we are going to make a dessert that I like to call Strawberry Cheesecake Trifle, and it is delicious. Then we're going to head to the sewing room and we are going to do the Chick Block and attach the Chick Block to the hen block and make a placemat. So if you're interested in seeing either of these videos, stick around. All right, let's get started. So I have an electric skillet here that I thought would be handy, and I actually just purchased this just to have it for my cooking videos because it makes it easier so I don't have to bring you back and forth from the island to the stove. And this is a Pioneer Woman skillet. It's an electric skillet. It has the temperature, and then it's also got a little timer on it that will cook it for a certain amount of time. And it's just electric. It is real handy, non-stick surface, really large, and it's really nice. In fact, I'm using it more just myself for our regular meals than I thought I would. So we're going to start with this skillet right here, and we're going to add to this. I've got a half a cup of sugar. We're going to make, this is the strawberry portion first. We've got about 2.5 tablespoons of cornstarch, and we are just going to mix those two up real quickly. Now I've already turned my skillet on, so I don't want to go too slow. And then I'm going to add to that 1 3/4 cup of water. And this is cold water, but as you can see, as soon as it hits, it starts boiling, and you don't really want your skillet to be on when you start like this. You want to dissolve this while it's cold, but I thought I'd just get it started. And you want to make sure all of those little cornstarch pieces are dissolved, and they should dissolve just fine when you mix it with the sugar first and then in the cold water. Now if you're adding hot water to it, you will probably get lumps. So I'm going to stir that. Then to that, I'm going to add 1 package of the smaller boxes of Jell-O. Now I'm using sugar-free. You can use any kind you want, but I thought this would make it a little better for us, I guess. Not quite as sugary, but you can substitute just regular strawberry Jell-O. And we're going to pour that in, and this will have a chance to dissolve once this gets heated, because Jell-O tends to be in crystals, and if you don't dissolve it, it will stay in crystals and actually get to be those little rubbery specks like that. So we're just going to cook this until it's nice and thickened, and it's going to be a little translucent. It will lose that milky color because that cornstarch will clear up as it bakes or as it cooks. So we're just going to stir this. And while that is stirring, I'm going to tell you, I went ahead, and I'm not using fresh strawberries for this. I'm using some of our last year's frozen strawberries. And I just went ahead and chopped them up pretty small, kind of crushed them up. And I've got 2 cups of those, and they're still a little bit frosty. I have part of an angel food cake. And, you know, the amount of cake you have use just depends on your taste. If you want it more cakey, use more cake. If you want it less cakey, use less cake. I have an 8-ounce block of cream cheese. I have some whipped topping. I have some powdered sugar, vanilla, a little bit of lemon juice. And we're going to be combining these things in certain orders and getting all the different fillings that we're going to be putting in this trifle. So this is starting to get hot, and it's starting to get a little bit deeper red. Okay, so this is getting thick, and it's getting a little more translucent. You can see the vivid dark red coming out. So we're just going to keep stirring, just don't let it scorch until it's nice and thick. And that cornstarch is all in there. Oops. That's good. And while it's boiling right here, I am just going to go ahead and throw these partially frozen strawberries in it. Again, that's 2 cups of strawberries. If you want to use fresh, you certainly can. And the reason I have them crushed up is I find that in a trifle that the fruit can kind of get soggy after a few days if you don't eat it right away. And we won't eat this all in one setting. It usually, depending on who's eating it and you know what meals and stuff, this will usually be in the refrigerator for a while and we'll be eating on it for a while. So I'm just heating these strawberries up a little bit, and that way they won't be as likely to get as soggy on us, and they're chopped up a little finer. So I'm just going to bring it back to a boil, and then I'll cut my heat. Now, if you are using fresh strawberries, they won't have as much liquid on them, so yours will probably be a little thicker, and that's okay. If you don't want it too thick, you can thin it out with a little bit of water. But this might even be a little runnier, but it does have the Jell-O in it, and it will thicken as it cools down. So it's just about ready to come to a boil. And there it goes. So I'm going to turn that off. And we're going to set this aside. And while this was cooking, I brought my mixer over here because now we're going to make the cream cheese cheesecake filling. I'm just going to stir this for a second more so it doesn't scorch while it's turning off. Okay. Okay, to make the cream cheese cheesecake filling, we're going to take 1 block, 8 ounces of cream cheese, and it's at room temperature. That way it will blend up real nice and smooth. And I've just got my whisk on there, and we're just going to cream that. And as you can see, it's nice and creamy. Now to that mixture, we are going to be adding some powdered sugar, and I've got about 1 cup of powdered sugar. So I'm going to turn it on low and just put a little bit at a time. And every time I add some powdered sugar, I just start it slow and then speed it up. Add a little more. Let's scrape down the sides of the pan. and give it another mix. I'm now going to add a splash of lemon juice, and you can omit this if you don't want to add lemon juice. This is probably a tablespoon. I'm also going to add a couple teaspoons of vanilla. And again, I'm going to scrape down the sides. And I gave it a good mix to make sure we have all the lumps out and it's nice and smooth and fluffy. Now I'm going to back you up just a little bit. Now what we're going to do is we are going to add about a cup of Cool Whip. Now I usually like to add real cream, whipping cream to it, but I didn't have any today, so Cool Whip is fine. So you could use either one. And that's just a little over a cup. Actually, it's probably, let's see, this is an 8-ounce carton here, and so that was 4 ounces. And that would be in weight, so it's not in liquid measurement. Now, if you want your cream cheese filling to be less light and fluffy, you could add less of that. That would be fine. And I'm just getting everything off the bottom. Just make sure you get it all mixed well. It likes to stick to the bottom. And we gave that a good whip. Now let's take that out. Okay, this is going to firm up a little bit as it chills. Right now it's a great consistency. And so I am just going to stick this in the refrigerator while we wait for our Jell-O mixture to cool down. Okay, so it's been a little over an hour, and this has come out of the refrigerator and it's thickened up. That's our cream cheese mixture. And then our strawberry mixture right here has thickened as well. It's not real cold yet, but it'll thicken up just a little bit more with that Jell-O in it, but it's ready to put into our trifle. So I've got my angel food cake in bite-sized pieces, and then I've also got some of the whipped topping mix here, and I've got 2 of the containers. We've used part of one, and I'm just not sure how much I'm going to need. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to put, and you know, if you have a trifle bowl that has the nice straight sides and the clear glass, that will look really pretty. I don't have that, but this one works really nicely. And I wasn't sure how big it's going to be, but it'll probably fill about halfway on this bowl. So I've put my, first of all, I've put my angel food cubes in there. And then I'm going to take, and I think I'm just going to use a little ladle. That'll make it come out a little easier. And I'm just going to put a little bit of the strawberry mixture on top of that angel food cake layer. And then we can put some of our cream cheese mixture. And actually, I think I'm just going to, yeah, I think I'll smooth it out a little bit. Sometimes I just dollop it in and then just leave it like that, but I think I'll smooth it out. And you can make your layers as thick or as thin as you want. If you make them thicker, you'll only have a few layers. If you make them thinner, you'll have lots of layers. And my thing when I do it is just try to get everything kind of evened out all over, so no matter where you scoop it, you're going to get a little bit of everything. And if you have a pretty bowl, you'll just want to, you know, make it so that you can see the layers. And then we'll put our whipped topping. And again, you can definitely use whipped cream, and that's usually what we like to use. And again, if you have clear sides and you want to make it look really pretty, just watch how you do your edges, and you might kind of peek at it every once in a while. But here at our house, we're not real concerned about that. Let's take some more angel food cake. Get a nice layer. And I have more of this angel food cake. I have about, that's probably half of a big angel food cake. So I have about a quarter of an angel food cake left because we ate about a quarter of it. Okay, then our strawberry mixture. Cream cheese mixture. And this is going to finish up that first container. This is from the second container, and if you had the larger size, you'd have plenty. And remember, if you like one thing more than you like another, you can adjust the amounts. It's really kind of up to you. You could also use a regular white cake. That would also be good. And let's do one more layer. And this is going to get pretty full. Looks like I'm going to need just a little bit more angel food cake, so let me cut that. Actually, I think I'm just going to spread these around. Let me just do that. Okay. And I'm just going to leave just a little bit just to kind of swirl it on the top so we can see what it is, that strawberry mixture. And we're going to finish up with our cream cheese mixture here now. Just trying to get it evenly distributed. And we've got that on there. And then our whipped topping. It looks like I'm using about 3/4 of the second tub. And I could easily just throw the rest on here, but I won't. Just a little drizzle on the top so we know we have a strawberry dessert here. And if you were using fresh strawberries, you could easily just slice a few on top and put them there. And we can just clean up those edges. And there we have it, our Strawberry Cheesecake Trifle. It is not ready to eat yet because it will taste so much better if we let it set in the refrigerator overnight or, all day and have it for dessert in the evening. But you want to chill it well so that everything kind of blends together and give it a nice stay in the refrigerator. So I'll bring you back when we try it. All right, this has been sitting in the refrigerator probably 8 hours or so, and we're going to check it out. And the fruit topping there is thickened, and let's see if the inside is thickened and chilled. Ooh, doesn't that look good? And you can see the different layers in there. All right. That is what it looks like. And let's give it a taste. That is delicious. So refreshing, fresh. Those strawberries just taste really good in there. You've got to give this a try. You're gonna love it. So hey guys, well today we are going to continue working on some of our blocks for the chicken farm series that we're currently working on. Now as you know, we have made the rooster, we have made the hen, and we have made chicken tracks. Okay, today we are going to make this cute little chick right here. Now the big blocks, the hen and the rooster, measure 12-inch finished. The chicken track and the chick block are going to be 4-inch finished. And I am making them this size because my plan is to turn my blocks into placemats, because right now I don't have time to put a quilt together. I could in the future, which I probably will in the future, but this is summertime and we all know how busy it is in the summertime. So I'm just turning mine into placemats. So here's an example of just the topper of a placemat. It will be quilted and it will be bound. And so this is the hen. And I'm thinking with the rooster, instead of having the chicks, I'll just put the chicken tracks, and I think that will look really good. So today what we're going to do is not only make the chicken block, but we're also going to assemble this placemat right here with the new chick blocks that I make and the hen that I had made the other day. So let's get started. Let me move you down to the table and I'll show you what we have. So here we have all of our cuts of fabric, and I've got them all set out, and I've actually got them cut for 2 because I'm going to use this one and then the 2 here. I'll make one with you and then the other off camera. But if you want to, you can take a screenshot of this, or you can pause right here and write down the cuts and the sizes. I am also going to share with you a free download, but the free download will be located in the video. You have to watch the video to get the link for the free PDF, and that is this right here. So it will be embedded in this video. Okay? All right, so let me set this aside and we're going to get started. The first thing we're going to do is take a look at our chick right here, and we're going to start right here with the body. We've got piece F, B, and C. So I'm going to grab one of each. F, B, and C. Now B is the larger one, and it's going to go in the lower left-hand corner. C is the smaller one, and it's going to go in the lower right-hand corner, just like this. Okay. Now I am using the same background as I'm using with my larger blocks, my hen and my rooster. That way, when I put these together, they will all just go together. Now, if you want yours scrappy and you want them different kinds and different fabrics and different backgrounds, that's fine. I just feel like with mine, I want them to kind of be cohesive, and so that's what I'm going to do. And I'll show you what I mean here. So as you can see here, they all blend together. The background on my hen was the same as the background on my chicks. And then I used the same for the piecing strips, the sashing between all of them. That way it's just blended in like that. But you can certainly use your own colors and make it scrappy. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do the stitch and flip, and if you have the seam tape on the base of your sewing machine, you can just use that, and I have that, but I will show you in case you don't know or don't have that. How another way to do it is draw a line diagonal, just like the cuts on your pattern here. And you can also take a screenshot of this right now too if you don't want to download the pattern. Okay, so I'm going to take this to my sewing machine. I'm going to sew right directly on each of those lines. And here we have it. I have gone ahead and pressed them down, and as you can see, they cover up those background triangles, and so they are good. And we can either just use a scissors or a rotary cutter and cut 1/4 inch away from that seam line, just like that. And that piece right there is finished. Now this is a really simple block. It doesn't take but a few minutes to make, and so it's a fun one to make. Now we're going to take piece D, this is D right here, and we're going to put it right next to the right of our body, and it's going to go right sides together, just like that. And we're going to sew 1/4 inch away. Now I would pin if you are new to sewing. And I've sewn that one on, and I pressed it back, and I just pressed it toward that background fabric. So there we have the lower portion all finished. Now let's take piece E, and we are going to add triangles B and C. So C is going to be on the bottom, it's the smaller one, and B is going to be on the top, but we can't lay them on at the same time, because if we did, we would sew over them and we couldn't flip them back. So let's just do it this way. I think I'm going to sew on C first. And again, if you don't have your seam tape, just draw your diagonal line. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and put a line on this, and then I'll turn it the way it needs to be turned once we add it to the block. Okay, so I'm going to sew right directly on that line. And we have it sewn, and I went ahead and I pressed. It looks like it covers it up just fine. So we can cut that back part off 1/4 inch away from that seam line. And then we will put piece B on the top here. And we want that diagonal line to go this direction, just like that. And again, if you want, you can use glue with these little pieces and just put it on the background top corner here, because that's going to be trimmed off, and that way you don't have to use pins. They won't get in your way. So now it's down so that I can sew on that, and then I can trim it off. So sew directly on that line. And that's sewn down. I flipped it back, gave it a press. It covers it up. Let's trim 1/4 inch away from that seam. All right. Now these two should fit perfectly together. The only seam we're going to be matching is this one right here, and it's not going to match like that. It's going to match because we're going to be stitching it 1/4 inch away from both edges. It's going to be matching 1/4 inch down. And so what I do is I just put a pin here on this end, and then I match up this end over here. And then I check, because both of my pieces are the same size. I will go, and I can do it on this straight edge, it might be easier. I can go 1/4 inch down and just eyeball it. That's about 1/4 inch. Put a pin in it. And when I bring it back up, I think you can see that pin went right through that seam. So that means they will match really nicely. Okay, so that looks good. Now all I need to do is sew 1/4 inch away from that edge. And there we have that piece on. I just pressed up. You can press whichever way you'd like to. And then the last piece, because it's looking awfully funny right there, is our piece A, and we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to put a stitch and flip corner on it, and we are just going to draw a diagonal there, and we will sew directly on that line. Again, if you need to pin, go ahead. If you need to put a little glue there, you can. A lot of times I keep these little squares here and turn them into half square triangles, but I usually say 2.5 inches or more, and this is not quite 2.5 inches. So I'm just going to throw that piece away. So let me stitch right on that line. And there I have stitched it. I've pressed it back. It matches up there. Let's just give that a trim 1/4 inch away from that seam. And there is the chick block. It wasn't that simple. I think it's a really cute little block, and you could add a button or anything you want to it to make it your chick. So I'm going to go ahead and make the other one, and that way I'll have 3. Here's my first one, here's my second one, and I'll make the other one, and then we're going to come back and we're going to put that placemat together. Okay, I have all 3 of my chick blocks done, and I have my hen block right here with me. Now we are going to be assembling this placemat right here, and it will look like this with our other blocks. So I have this printout right here that you can take a screenshot of if you need it. It has the measurements for the sashing pieces. Now I have put a 1.5 inch border around the chicken on 3 sides, and then all around the chicks and in between the chicks it's a 1 inch sashing. So that's kind of what we have. What we're going to do is I'm going to lay it out right here. There's my hen block, and then I just need to determine which chicks I want and where I want to place them. I think that will be good like that. Then I have my strips cut out. So let's see what we have here. So this one right here looks like my 1 inch by 14.5 inch. It's going to go here. This is my 1 inch by 14.5 inch one. It goes right here. This one is my 1.5 by 14.5 inch strip. It's going to go over here. These are 1 inch by 4.5 inches. And I should have 2 more of those. Here they are. One up here and one down here as well. And then these are 1.5 by 12.5. All right, so we're going to start off with, let's just start off with our chicks here. I'm going to go ahead and put on each of these chicks this top sashing, and I'm also going to put this bottom sashing on this bottom one. So I'm going to go to my sewing machine, and all of these are right sides together. I'm going to stitch 1/4 inch from the top edge and the bottom edge down here. Now make sure your edges are matched up, and definitely use pins if you need them. All right, I have those sashing pieces sewn on, and now I'm just going to sew this one right here 1/4 inch away, and then once that's sewn, I'll take this one, flip it here, and sew this one 1/4 inch away from that edge, and I'll have that whole piece. And now I have this strip all sewn together. So let's now So the sashing on the top and the bottom of the hen. So all we're going to do is lay this right sides together, just like that. And this one right sides together, just like that. And we're going to sew 1/4 inch away. I would definitely pin, since we're going to be going a long distance on this, that way your ends won't pull and have one end shorter than the other. And whenever I'm putting on sashing, I like to, if it works out, put the sashing toward the feed dogs because there are no seams that can get flipped. Now, if you do have this back piece here and it's bigger, then you probably want to put that to your feed dogs, but mine looks like they're fine, so I'm just going to do that. And I'll pin the other one the same way, and I'll stitch them at the top and the bottom, and I'll bring you right back. And now I have the hen block section all sewn together. And I do want to remind you, when you are sewing right up here, watch your points. Remember how we talked about in other videos that if you're sewing, just go right above that peak, this peak here and this peak here, and that way you will not cut them off. I almost cut this one off, but when you pull it back, it does look fine. Now this one right here won't be a peak because we still have that 1/4 inch seam, so don't worry about that one. Okay, so now we have all of these, and now we have columns that we need to sew together. So I can just start right here, and I can sew this one here, and I can sew this one here, and I can sew this one right here. And remember, go ahead and pin those since you have such a long run. And I don't think, the only spot we have right here is the beak, so watch your beak. Make sure you keep your points there if you want a sharp beaked hen. And so I think we're ready to sew. Just sew 1/4 inch away from the edge. And now we have those side pieces and sashings put on here. And we've got our final stitch for the top right here. So right sides together, match up your top edges there. And you should have, yeah, you're not going to have to worry about points on the beaks there. Just stitch 1/4 inch away and this will be done. And there we have the finished top of a placemat. Now you could also make this as like a big hot pad to set casseroles on as well. That would be something neat. The side of a big tote. There's so many things you can do with it. Even a pillow. You could arrange these blocks in all sorts of different ways. These, the roosters, and the ones to come in all different ways to make different projects. Now, if you're wanting to turn this into a mat, what you're going to need is some fabric for the backing and some batting. And I think this is just 80-20 batting. And you're going to put right side facing out on your backing. And you're going to cut your backing and your batting the same size, but you want it to be a little bit larger than your top. That way, when you're quilting it, if it pulls or something like that, you have enough room on the edges and it won't go off your project. Sometimes if we don't leave enough, we'll have a little bit of an edge that's not quilted underneath. There won't be any batting. So always give yourself a little extra batting and backing fabric. And then what you would do is you could baste this with Elmer's glue, with spray basting, with pins, whatever you want. And then you could quilt this however you like. You could do crosshatch, where you just do your straight lines at an angle and then go the other way. You could do up and down lines, across lines. You could do stitch in the ditch all the way around all of this, or you could go 1/4 inch away from all of the stitches. Even just using a meandering stitch where it's going all over with a quilting foot on your sewing machine. All of those would look really nice, really nice. Now, if you are wanting to use this as something that would take heat, I would also add to it some Insulbrite, and this is just a insulated lining that is used for pot holders, and there is this foil type stuff inside that just helps insulate, and so it will keep the heat from burning something underneath. Now, personally, with all my cooking, I've pulled out placemats before that just have batting, and I've used them. Now, I'm not using them on a nice wooden table or anything like that, but just our countertops. They work fine. But yes, if you had a nice wooden table and you were putting a hot dish on it, I would use something like this. So I'm not going to show you today how to quilt and all of that, because I think you can figure that out. Then you'd put your binding on, and I have a tutorial that I'll link here on how to put your binding on with the machine, and it makes it real easy. If you followed along with me on my dish mats of the month last year, we did a lot of this size project, so you've got those to look at for samples, but I do have the video for putting binding on. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing if you're not subscribed already. And I really appreciate those of you who are liking and sharing especially. And also, don't forget to leave a comment. I hope you have a great week, and I hope to see you back here soon. Bye-bye.